You've heard of strikers, playmakers, and number 10. What if I told you there is a role that actually suits all these together, all these combined together is a particular role, yet none of them in particular the role represents? Now, I know this is confusing, but I'll explain further. The false nine position is the rule that actually rewrote football history and actually made defenders to chase shadows. Now, defenders consistently chase shadows because the false nine position in a football match was actually invented. The false nine is one of the most confusing and role is the one of the roles that a lot of defenders actually fail to understand how to go about it. Now, naturally, in the natural sense, a number nine or a striker is someone who stays up front to actually receive the ball and score goals for the team. That is his primary assignment. But in the first nine position, now instead of the striker, the attacker, or the top nine to remain up forward, waiting for the ball, the number nine is the furthest player in the team, waiting for the ball to get to him to score the goal. He actually comes to the midfield to interact and play with the midfielders in order to confuse the defenders. Now, the false nine is not just an attacker. The false nine is a playmaker. Now, is someone that is tactically intelligent to play with the ball. Now, play with the midfield. Now, make the defenders to push forward because there is no striker for them to actually man mark over there. Now, when they push forward, now it gives the wingers the opportunity to actually go forward and get the goals while the defenders seek to take down the attacker. You get? Now the first nine comes into the midfield and plays with the midfielders, now confusing the defenders and making it to be like a shadow chasing. Now, on a tactical breakdown, here is how the false nine operates. Now, number one, the false nine drops deep. Now he drops deep now to play with the midfield and give the wingers opportunity to step forward and get a goal. Now while the first nine drops deep and become a playmaker and joins the midfield, it actually confuses the defenders. Now it confuses the defenders because they wouldn't know whether they would have to chase the first nine down to the midfield in order to mark him down or remain at the defense. Now, these are the repercussions. If they get to chase the first nine down to the midfield, there are definitely going to be spaces, for the wingers to actually penetrate the defense. You get? Because they are all out, chasing the first nine. The wingers would actually have this space to get into the attack and get a goal. Now, they actually have another choice of either remaining in the defense and not chasing the first nine into the midfield. Now, if they remain in the defense, the repercussion of that, if the first nine is a very good tactical playmaker, the repercussion of remaining and not, man marking the first nine is that it would actually give the first nine the space to actually, play the ball, get the ball to different angles and actually get the goal too from far aside. You get? Now them not sitting back, remaining in defense and not chasing the false nine would give him the leverage to do whatever he wants to do with the ball, the space to do whatever he wants to do with the ball. Now either get the goal from a far side or play the ball to wingers with the midfielders and open up spaces. So these are the two ways in which the first nine operates: dropping deep, getting the defenders to come forward and mark him and giving the winger space to go get the goals, or where he drops deep, the defenders wouldn't come to mark him. That is actually giving him a free space to operate in the midfield, moving forward to the attack and feeding the wingers or getting the goal by himself from a fast strike. Now, another way the false nine works from a tactical perspective is that it creates space. Now, how does the false nine create space? Now, the false nine coming into the midfield, actually create space for wingers to actually operate. They'll have, better space to operate into the defense and actually get the goal. So another tactical form in which the false nine operates is by creating spaces for wingers to go and get the goals. Another tactical breakdown of the false nine is that it is a playmaking role. Now, it's a playmaking role in the sense that you know a false nine that actually has this tactical prowess and has the vision and the technical skills can actually link up with other players and deliver through balls. Now a false nine would actually deliver through balls or through passes, what they call through balls to wingers, and they can get the goal. Or he would actually get a strike from far aside to get goal because he has all the spaces, so he can take a strike and get the goal, or delivers through balls for the wingers to go get the goal. Now, it is pertinent for you to note that this false nine role actually works most in a 4-3-3 formation or a 4-2-3-1 formation. This is actually a possession-based formation. These two formations are possession-based formation. So it actually, gives the false nine a good space to actually operate. These are the formations that the false nine majorly operates. Now, historical origin of the false nine. While the false nine feels modern, its roots actually go way back into the years. Now, in the 1920s and 1930s, Uruguay used a deep line forward in the World Cup. Yes, Uruguay used a deep line forward. So this false nine pattern has actually been existing long ago. Now, in the 1950s, Hungary's Nanda Hidegkuti actually played a similar role for the Magical Maguires. Now, but it was Pep Guardiola that actually, while he was, coaching or managing Barcelona, Pep Guardiola's Barcelona made the false nine famous with Lionel Messi at the heart of it. Now, the false nine was famous in this present day with the playmaking pattern of Pep Guardiola. Now, the pivotal man in this false nine position was Lionel Messi. Now, Lionel Messi, with his tactical skills, his vision, and his playmaking role, would actually, drop down to the midfield and play with the defenders and actually push, give through balls to Villa, Iniesta, and other of his players to get the goals, or he will push into the box after dropping down and getting the goal himself. So Lionel Messi actually played this false nine role very well and very perfect in this present football era, and this was made possible by Pep Guardiola during the time in which he was coaching FC Barcelona. Now, the modern day masters of false nine are Lionel Messi. He's the ultimate false nine. Now, especially under Guardiola during the FC Barcelona era, Lionel Messi. Now, the next person is Francesco Totti. Francesco Totti played for Roma and is a Roma legend who blurred the line between striker and playmaker. Francesco Totti actually played this false nine position and played it absolutely well for Roma. Now, another player that did absolutely well in playing this false nine position is Roberto Firmino. Roberto Firmino, during the Klopp's era in Liverpool, Liverpool used him to create space for Salah and Mane. Now, when Roberto Firmino was actually playing for Liverpool FC during the era of Jurgen Klopp, he was playing as a false nine, and if you can recall absolutely well, you see that Robert Firmino was actually making a shift for Mo Salah and Sadio Mane to go forward and get the goals. Now you can imagine he actually is the false nine, but most of the time, Sadio Mane and Mo Salah were actually the ones getting the goals for the team. So this is actually trying to make the defenders chase shadows, following Firmino, giving space for Salah and Mane to get goals, and it actually resulted in a particular season whereby Sadio Mane and Mo Salah won the Golden Boot. They were the highest goal scorer, joint highest goal scorers for that season in the Premier League. So you see how this works. Now, another person that actually played this role in a good way is Kai Havertz. You know, he played the false nine position for Chelsea SC and Germany. He actually did so well, even in the Champions League final against Manchester City. You saw how he played the false nine position and got the goal for Chelsea. So you see, these are the modern day players that has actually represented this false nine role perfectly well in this present day. Now, these false nine are not just goal scorers, they are tactical weapons whereby teams use to exploit the defense of their opponents. Now, the pros and the cons of the false nine position. The pros, uh, it creates space and overloads midfield. The false nine creates space, overloads the midfield for his team, making them to get hold of the midfield and control the game. Now, the false nine confuses the defense line. It confuses the defense line. It enhances fluidity and possession, which makes the players to have lots of space and possession because there's an extra player for them to play with in the midfield. Now it allows wingers to become goal threats. Now when the false line gets into the midfield, the wingers push forward, so they are goal threats. Now you imagine the two wingers pushing forward and trying to get a goal. Now there are likely possibilities that the goals are going to come. Now, the cons of this false nine is that it requires high football IQ and technical skills. Now, this is why Lionel Messi played this role absolutely well because he had high football skills and he was technically good. He was technically good and has this high IQ in football, so he played the role absolutely well. Now, he still plays this role because he has not retired up until today. Now the another cons of this false nine is that it can leave the box empty if teammates don't make runs. Now if your teammates don't make runs, the box can actually be empty and thereby making it so difficult to get a goal. So the teammates has to make runs into the box while the false nine comes into the midfield to overload the midfield in order for them to get a goal. You get? Now it doesn't suit every system or opponents. Now there are some opponents whereby you are going to play against. If you tend to use this false nine, they will exploit you and do you a lot of they'll do you a lot of havoc. It's not cool, it's not proper to play it against all opponents, else it will be exploited. So you definitely have to be sure that this opponent plays in a way that you playing a false nine would actually exploit them and get the defenders to chase shadows. The global impact and tactical evolution of this false nine is that the false nine has influenced football across continents. Now, Spain's Euro 2012 team played without a traditional striker, using Cesc Fabregas as a false nine. Manchester City under Guardiola often rotates between false nine and traditional strikers, and even Nigeria Super Eagles have experimented with deep line forwards to unlock compact defenses. So it's not just a position, it is a philosophy, a way to control space and tempo and make it unpredictable. Now, it is pertinent for you to note that the false nine is more than just a position. Now, it's a tactical revolution. It challenges defenders, empowers midfielders, and redefines how we think about attacking football. Now, whether you are a coach, a player, or a fan, understanding the false nine gives a deeper appreciation of the beautiful game of football. You get? So you should understand how the false nine operates in order for you to get deeper appreciation of the beautiful game of football. So now you know what exactly is the position and the duties of a false nine. So now you know being a false nine isn't about being false, it's about being brilliant. If you love football tactics, hit the like button, follow and subscribe to all my social media pages so as for you to get notification whenever I post videos like this and educating videos about football, sports and whatever. You get the notification. And now I would want you to tell me in the comment section, now do you actually love the rule of a false nine, or you prefer an outright nine in your team, or you prefer to have a false nine in your team which have the tactical IQ to actually maneuver the playmaking role in a football match? So tell me in the comment section and let me know. For now, see you in our next video. Bye.